The mastoid process of the temporal bone contains a cavity called the mastoid antrum, which contains many air-filled spaces called mastoid air cells. This cavity is connected with the middle ear via an opening called the auditus, which is located posteriorly to the epitympanic recess. Air from the outer environment can flow into the mastoid air cells through the nose. It begins with the air flowing into the nose through the nasal cavity to the nasal pharynx, to the pharyngotympanic or eustachian tube, and then to the middle ear. Once in the middle ear, air can flow into the auditus, which leads into the mastoid antrum and finally to the mastoid air cells. The eustachian tube is normally closed but can open during swallowing or yawning. The two muscles aid in the opening of the eustachian tube, the tensor veli palatini and the levator veli palatini. When they contract, the levator veli palatini elevates the soft palate while the tensor veli palatini tenses the soft palate. At the same time, contraction of these muscles also pull open the eustachian tube. Opening of the eustachian tube helps equalize pressure from the middle ear with the atmospheric pressure. The tensor veli palatini is innervated by the mandibular branch of cranial nerve 5 trigeminal nerve, while the levator veli palatini is innervated by the pharyngeal branch of cranial nerve 10 vagus nerve. Given this passageway from the nose to the ear to the mastoid process, the middle ear and mastoid air cells are potential spaces for infection. When fluid or secretions get into the middle ear from the nose and becomes trapped, it can turn into a middle ear infection or an otitis media. If left untreated, middle ear infections can spread to the mastoid air cells within the mastoid process and develop into mastoiditis. In young children, the eustachian tube is shorter, straighter, and more narrow than in adults, which is why it is easier for fluid or secretions to get trapped in their middle ear and make them more susceptible to middle ear infections.